Anybody else want to chime in here?
I kind of wonder what we all think about Main Street. You know, seeing so many businesses that aren't leased, or buildings that aren't leased and aren't providing services or you know, the kinds of things you find on a Main Street. I think that small businesses having enough capital or having enough vision to occupy those spaces on Main Street, I think really makes a difference for a community. So does anybody have any thoughts about this? I don't know anything about the costs of those leases, if they're exorbitant, but does anyone have any thoughts about Main Street being more productive with a wide range of businesses offered?
I wonder if we could look at some other similar towns and for some ideas, you know, maybe ideas of how places where it's been done, but
I mean, I know that we were all speaking about the multinational thing. I mean, the fact that we don't have a Walmart in Springfield and those sorts of things, it makes a difference, so that if you don't want to drive the 20 minutes to Lebanon and you can go to the IGA or the Save-A-Lot, you will, at least for food. So, and then there's a Rite Aid and things like that. So those things are great, but I don't know. I just feel like there's other communities I've been to that sort of cater to different aspects of what those multinational companies offer, and they're just like, I guess, like they used to be, where, you know, the butcher's here and the bread store's there, and, you know, I don't think that we're going to go back to that, but I'm just interested if anybody has any thoughts about that.
One of my dreams for a while has been if we could get a small business incubator going in one of those empty buildings somewhere downtown, where all you would need would be some old beat up desks and a phone system and some kind of wireless connection. But it would be a place where if somebody's got a dream, like they want to start a hairdressing business, or they want to start a farm that will grow beets or whatever, but they don't know how to begin, that they could, for $100 a month, they could rent a desk in that building and have access to a phone and to the internet, but they would be with other people who are also trying, and they would be teaching each other. How do you create a business plan? What do you have to worry about in terms of taxes? What do you have to think about in terms of insurance? And then once a week, they could invite in a Jeremy Harden to explain insurance issues. They could invite in a Sean Malloy to talk about entrepreneurship. They could invite in Cynthia to talk about food issues. So that just by putting people, you know, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 people in one space, and maybe getting some senior executives who are retired and would love the chance to donate some time and come in and teach people how you create a successful business. I mean, that's something that we've talked about for some time now, and we have not been able to get it off the ground, but
isn't there
it
something
doesn't
to
seem
that
that it
effect
would be.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but isn't there something to that effect at the library? Because there was a brochure in the New Pioneers office that talks about starting a small business.
There's an entrepreneurship center,
Yeah,
the set of shelves in the library that has a lot of written resource materials. And then on the website of the library's own website, there's a whole section on a lot of the things that you need to start a business. But I think most of us need peer support to do something. So getting in that same room, even if it's only for a few hours a day, or a day a week, or 2 days a week, just being around other people who kind of say, well, did you accomplish what you said you were going to do last week? You know, we all need that kind of oomph. So, I mean, that's one small thing. I don't know if other people have ideas about the downtown, making use of more of that empty space downtown and providing more of a center for the community. I mean, I think that this community is to be strongly commended that we built our judicial center downtown. Lots of communities have put them out on the bypass. We have worked really hard with a good thriving restaurant at the core of downtown business. A lot of good things are going on in this community that aren't going on in others, but we do still have a lot of storefronts that are not being used, and we would, we'd be thriving more if we could make use of them. Leah?
Well, you set me up nicely for the question that I this is for Sean, because I think that the way that you described your business model and your thinking is very creative, and I think in order for us to think about ways that are bigger than or smaller than the superstructure, the economic superstructure that Cynthia is talking about, and that how you do that, you're one thing. It's very reliant on creativity. There's a kind of failure of imagination, I think, sometimes that happens when we don't feel like we necessarily have power to, take part in that economic system. So my question is whether you could talk a little bit about how you developed your approach to business, because this didn't happen overnight, I'm imagining. You tried out a number of approaches. And could you talk a little bit about how you honed your business skills, how you learned about marketing in really creative ways?
Well, the question was, with what I was talking about earlier this evening, where did you hone in on your skills to be creative and constantly thinking up different business opportunities? And that's a very good question, and really where it started from was, it really never really started until after college, actually. But I do have a BS in mechanical engineering, so I'm educated, but I'm more on the practical side of things, maybe not as smarter on the book side of the business. But with that said, it was learning hands-on in laboratories. My background is developing products from start to finish, and I was in an industry where we made wood stoves and gas stoves, and starting in the trenches all the way up to an executive position. Doing so, you have to be very creative, and I spent a lot of time beyond just work honing in on those skills, but listening. But every single one of those skills I learned at these businesses I were working for other people, I became more confident in what you do. And I dreamed more, saying I would want to do something else and do something else, and I can do better than this. And I've been very fortunate to have great bosses that would listen to me and a lot of freedom to explore. And doing so, I was able to go internationally and be a part of an executive team to think about the sales, marketing, engineering, product development, and bringing it all together in a platform that would be efficient and be able to compete in a world market. Until that point, at that point in time where we changed our careers, my wife and myself, we're both professional in terms of the corporate world. We started raising alpacas, mill, but with those skill bases, allowed us to build a confidence level. And with the development of new products and saying, I've been there, done that, there's less of a pullback saying, I can't do that, I can't do that. I can do it. And it doesn't make a difference if I'm making wood stoves or making socks or yarns. But a lot of people tell me you dream a lot. But my dreams usually come true. And when I usually say I'm going to do something, I really focused on that as well. So that's sort of where I'm hoping that I'm answering your question.
No, that absolutely does. And the kind of follow-up question is, do you have a vision of size and scope? Do you have a vision of limitations, but not in terms of holding yourself back, but in terms of here's the limit, here's what I want to do, here's where I want to be, as opposed to this kind of logic of ever expanding, or is there a way of expanding that keeps it so that it's still a small business model and it's elsewhere, or it's creating cottage industries in other locations or either within the community or elsewhere?
Well, let me answer that question, because that's actually another good question. Is that I consider, if you look at a wheel and there's the hub, and the hub is my businesses. And that's where Sean and Lori work. And I'm always going to have it a very small hub. And we'll always have a small amount of employees. But we'll outsource it to the insurance company or the accountant or another marketing group. But we're going to have that core group. But we are developing skills. People come to me and say, hey, I'm trying to do something. I want to do something with knitting and whatever. I say, well, I have a great opportunity for you. I need knitted stoles. And I have these people come in and I say, oh, well, here's all the people you need to talk to. 6 months later, 9 months later, they come back and say, we're ready to work for you. It's amazing. And I'm always listening, and I'm always looking for talent, and I'm always encouraging people to start up their own businesses. So if you start looking at what I'm doing, is it going to be a hopefully it's a multi-million-dollar business, but is it going to be 100 employees? I doubt it will ever be 100 employees, but if it's 25 high-paying jobs in a small community like Springfield, Kentucky, in the next 10 years, and we're somewhere around maybe $10, $20 million business, in which we're contributing right back into our community, that's what I want to do. And if I can pull more manufacturing into the state of Kentucky, I will do that. And if I can work with nonprofits to make that happen, or with other businesses, I'll make that happen too. So,
I think one thing it's tough, and especially it's more true than ever now, is the economy plays a role, and it's a leap of faith to start a small business. And one thing I keyed in on is you didn't just come out of college with a bunch of debt and say, I'm going to start a small business tomorrow. You had a paycheck for so many years that you knew was coming, and then had your dream that you chased and followed, and are catching up to it. And that's, with younger, and that's the thing, the younger people have the fresh ideas and new ideas, but they don't have the capital, the ability to borrow money, and they definitely don't have the nerve to take that leap of faith to start that idea. So I think that's another area you have to focus on. And on the agriculture side of it, another group that I'm involved in right now is we're getting ready to start some programs, hopefully in the high school with the FFA programs, teaching them now how to start keeping up with your balance sheets, your assets, your profits, so that when you're out of school and you do want to go borrow some money to buy that first farm, and you go to the banker, you don't look like a fool. And we've already talked with some ag lenders and some lenders that said, okay, we'll come in and talk to them about, what you have to have. And I know some young adults that have no clue that you can't just go in and borrow anything you want and sign your name to it, and they're going to give you the money. You're going to go start what you're going to do. I mean, you have to have a vision, a plan. You have to show that it's going to work. And that's one of the tough things that is always going to be hard to overcome, especially for the young thinkers that have those great ideas, but they don't have anything else to go with it. And that was kind of brought me to that.
And if we could couple what you're doing with that with educating some of our older farm owners, that by putting their farms into conservation easements, they could make farmland available to the young people, keep farming going in the county, but also recover all of their financial benefits. There are ways of doing that. And a lot of people either don't know about that opportunity or are suspicious of it and are not using it. So they sell at top dollar, which makes it more and more difficult for the young farmer to be able to buy farmland. And developers are more apt to develop farmland, which once you develop it, once you pour concrete and all the other things that go into building houses, you can't farm it again. So we need to be thinking about the economic aspect of farmland from both directions, the young and the older. Well, I think this has been a very, very interesting conversation. And I hope that our audience has also found it as interesting as we have. The potential is here. I actually, at the beginning, I never did introduce myself. I am Sister Claire McGowan, and I'm the Executive Director of New Pioneers for a Sustainable Future. I apologize for failing to say that, but one of the things that New Pioneers tries to do is to build energy and momentum in our county toward creating a sustainable rural community. And when we started in 2005, most people would say, I get new and I get pioneers, and I even get future, but what is this sustainable thing anyways? And I think bit by bit, we're getting clearer and clearer. And tonight's conversation is a good example of we're getting clearer about what we mean when we say we want to build a sustainable community here in Washington County. And we want to be known throughout this state as Kentucky's greenest, most sustainable rural community. That's our goal. And bit by bit, we're getting ourselves there, but we need everybody to participate. 3 people can't do it, and 10 people can't do it, and 100 people can't do it. But the more of us who join in from whatever direction we happen to fit in and buy into, yes, that's what I want to. I want it for me, but I want it for my children, and I want it even more for my grandchildren and for their grandchildren. And together, we can do that. We can create something really exciting in this county that doesn't exist anywhere else in the state. And the fact that Dr. Leah Bayens is now the director of the Wendell Berry Initiative at St. Catherine College is an enormous gift to this county, because now we're going to have a whole lot of new resources that will enable us to partner and work together toward something really innovative and creative that doesn't exist yet. And you know what, people? We have to do this work. The situation of our planet is getting more and more frightening by the day. What's happening to our water, to our soil, to our fossil fuels, to our forests, to our wildlife it's absolutely heart-wrenching. And most of us are paying no attention whatsoever to that reality. We listen to the political conventions and we think that's really what's important. And there has been almost no mention of the crisis that the planet is in. So the conversation that's going on here tonight and among us day after day and month after month and year after year is the heart of the matter. We're on to something and we need to stay on it, because it's absolutely urgent to not only this little county in the heart of Kentucky, not only to our state and our nation, but to the survival of the entire world. And it's only going to be one little community at a time, one city at a time, one state at a time that's going to be able to bring about the transformation that we need desperately. So thank you, each of you, Jeremy and Cynthia and Sean, all of you who are here in our audience, Beth, for taping this tonight. We're very grateful for all of you, and we know we're going to make a difference one step at a time.